Well, happy Easter, everyone, or Ramadan, or Passover, or whatever faith you follow. And, well, if you don't have any faith, have faith in your friends. You know, your friends are what get you through life. They're the things that motivate you when things are bad and are there to help you out when things are really bad. So it's, a good time to take stock. And in a weird world, faith in anything is good. I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, thank you very much to everyone who came out last week to talk to me about old gamings at my HMGS PSW meeting. I expect to see 3 new painted figures that I was given out to some painters that want to get involved in my painting challenge. If you're interested and you want to see one of them that's already done, I gave a Grenadier dwarven wizard to a friend of Frank who came out. He's a really good vintage painter. You can see him on Instagram at LED Army, which I think is LED.army. Very cool. He does a lot of nice vintage stuff, lots of good painting, other gaming. Really an excellent individual to get involved with if you like seeing the vintage painted lead. I don't know how much he parts with, so it might be something you might want to ask him. Maybe he'd do some custom work for you if you like. But there are some other people I'm going to be talking about who do. A lot of people seem to be really interested in the painting challenge, and I like that. And they've been contacting me on all my different social media. So it's more difficult for me to respond quickly to this. I'm kind of thinking that the way we would do this might be for anyone on my Patreon, patreon.com/Game Methuselah, capital G Game, capital M Methuselah. Come on the minimal of that. Whatever it would cost you would surely cover all shipping costs. And I keep thinking there's going to be some beautiful, great painters out there who, if I send them something old and interesting to paint, maybe they send me something back. Maybe they don't, and they just figure they got some free minis. But that doesn't bother me. What I want to do is inspire people to get in there and start working to improve your own art. Because this is art. I'm talking to a local museum about the idea of maybe putting together an exhibit on the history of role-playing games and role-playing miniatures, doing, two-dimensional art, and you're interested in helping me out on this. A set goal that I've had for myself for many years and have kind of fallen down on the job and getting it done. I want to get it done before I become room temperature. So for those out there who are working on this, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the new figures. If you're interested and you want to contact me, I think you can direct message me on Instagram. So that's game __ Methuselah. Or obviously you can message me if you get on my Patreon page. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I'm constantly playtesting the game. And we're at the point now where I'm pretty excited about it. I think we're about as far forward in our game design as the original D&D 0 was. So I keep thinking at this point we're polishing the apple much more than we are creating the base. But for today's adventure, again, I'm looking to break the rules. And in doing that, based upon my last adventure 2 weeks ago, where the kobolds attacked the goblin allies of our gaming group, they went back now to find these kobolds to sort of root them out and destroy them and find out, why they were doing this. Because the goblins that had not fled and had stayed with the people of Timber Sprout had said that really kobolds are not going to attack goblins unless they have a powerful leader. And most of you who understand kobolds realize that usually a powerful leader for kobolds is a dragon. So there was a lot of fear there. And since we were running the B team, not the A team, they were concerned about this. But that's what I wanted to see, was to see how they would do a scouting mission, how they would react to a high-level boss who really wanted to taunt and disparage the party, trying to break down their morale, as opposed to directly conflicting with them in a combat. And also to test their minions' mettle and to get them built up to understand that they can be powerful and alike and be able to overwhelm the enemies of the dragon. And he had a fledgling dragon of his own that he wanted to get in there and teach how to kill things. So you'll see the little video as we're going to show you of the various things that went on that evening, just little snippets like I did 2 weeks ago. But the interesting thing about it is something when you introduce a big boss, in this scale, full-scale black dragon, not going to fight with the party. So this is the thing you can do in games to heighten the fear, terror, and alike, your tension in your games, is to have these sort of bosses who are there, who have no interest in fighting, who basically at the end of this, as you'll see, gave them sort of an ultimatum. It's like, look, here you have 2 options. You can either stand and fight with my minions, Or you can take this treasure over there and leave, your choice. Now, what happens in these things is often what happens in all role-playing parties. One side of the group wanted to basically run, not take anything, just flee. One group said, we will stand and fight. And part of the other group said, we don't want to do both. We want to sort of grab the treasure and fight on the way out. Well, that's kind of what happened. So we have ensuing running battle between a party of 7 characters, 1 NPC, low levelish, fighting what effectively is almost an unlimited number of kobolds in this running battle to escape. As a DM and as a game master and as a game designer who's obviously using this for a playtesting section, I often sometimes get lost in the fact that even though I'm presenting role-playing and people are having fun playing the role-playing, I'm not concentrating as much on the role-playing as I normally would. I'm really concentrating on looking at the effects of the combat, the battle, how things are working within the framework of our rules, looking at ways to fix problems that come up or make new rules or make new decisions. And as you'll see as we get into our game and those of you who are involved, I'm trying to make a situation where they get a set of rules that you can have massive amounts of detail with an ability to play a game in a reasonable period of time, which is kind of always the difficulty in most role-playing games. In the old pad group with Matt and the guys, we'd get together on Fridays, start the game at 8, and it would not be uncommon for our game to run substantially past midnight. Most people that I find nowadays don't really want to do that. My Thursday night game with Angelo, we're playing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. We're having mega gaming, and these game sessions don't usually run much more than 3 to maximum of 4 hours. So you have to be very, very specific in how you play your game. So if you watch my stuff, sometimes you'll see more detail, sometimes you'll see less detail in the terrain, the miniature placement, and things like that I use, because I always have to be aware of how much time is available for people to play. Because I went kind of minimalist detail, knowing that it was going to be a large battle. It still ran fairly long, but considering the numbers involved, I was very pleased with it. I think the other players were as well. But to tell you, there were some disappointments, I think, in people, and not angerish disappointments, but the fact that 2 characters were captured and 1 was killed. It's always tough to lose. And this is an interesting thing in gaming and role-playing because the party lost. They essentially withdrew. They did acquire the treasure, at least half of it. The other half they had promised to the NPC, who took his share and fled. But what happens in these things is there's a perspective to look at. Even if you lose in a good way, there's still a feeling of loss. And often I'm more aware of it than I was in this situation. Really, I was so much more laser focused on working on the rules. I was not in a position to maybe mollify more than I would have done normally in a role-playing DM situation. But it was still a great game. And it did now what I really always hope happens in role-playing. They now want to take the A-team. The A-team wants to go back and they want to deal with the dragon. And that's what I wanted to see. Originally, these guys were just, I thought, going to scout, withdraw, not get as heavily engaged as they did. But either way, it sets the stage for future desires of people to get more into the story. I think this is going to be a real good continuation. And I keep thinking I'd like to have more people involved in doing it and seeing it and giving feedback and like. So I'm hoping we can do that. So enjoy these little snippets and we'll talk more about it. Have a great holiday. Fight to me, devils, fight, for I hate peace. And the party on their scouting mission to find the Kobold Lair has ended up in a large ruined Fomorian castle. Of course, the party has decided to scout into the middle room where there's a spiral staircase ascending into the roof of this large room and chamber. Amongst it, they see more little kobolds. Not very threatening, of course, and at the top there's a really tiny little dragon. There's more than likely more above that as the stairway spirals continually into the ceiling, but they feel like, hey, we've done enough scouting, time to do some killing. So we'll see how this works out. If you wonder why the party looks the way it does, their initial encounter against the river trolls convinced them that the river troll leader was having a great humor, saying that he would send his troll wizard along with them to find out what they could gather in here, with the proviso, of course, that they get half the treasure. So we'll see if the party ends up with anything worthwhile, or maybe the troll backstabs them. Kobolds with their small black dragon come attacking the party. The magic user for the kobolds fired a blindness spell and hit the rogue who failed his save critically bad, which means right now he's totally blind and stumbling around in the darkness. We have now found the bane of this party. Apparently they cannot hit kobolds to save their lives. Maybe they'll bravely stand to the very last dead troll. The party is pushing back the kobolds. They are starting to withdraw, and they're hoping to lead the party farther into the tower so they can be hit by all three sides on the flank. I'm sure the party doesn't realize this yet, so I'm not going to... Oh, wait, I said that out loud. We'll let you know what happens. The party is now gleeful that they've actually pushed the kobolds back up the stairs, and they're trying to kill the vicious little teeny-weeny dragon. The party arrives at the next level. They find some kobolds who are all together in the corner, defending themselves in the front, and all the priests and other associates are chanting Grognot. The party got to the top and found a hole in the ceiling. They...
Good Lord.
Well, we'll leave you too. You
can do it. We're this far in.
They might as well fight the... Yeah, no, I'm thinking this is not great. But anyway, they're enjoying their vista, and a larger black dragon lands to protect its little baby. And he's kind of watching the scene, wondering what's going on. He seems to be disappointed with his little kobolds, but I'm not sure what's going to happen here. The party's debating whether they want to flee or stand and fight to the death. We'll see. The dragon had given them an ultimatum to take the treasure and leave or stand and fight. The party decided to take the treasure and leave and stand and fight. The dragon was very impressed by this. So he waited, and they've got the treasure, and they're going to the stairway to leave. But you see, all the other kobolds now have come to his aid because the party only did the two things instead of one. So now we'll see how the party can get out with an unlimited supply of kobolds chasing them. It'll be lots of fun. So the idea of the dragon's fair play is to let the party flee with his kobold minions in hot pursuit. As you can see here, the party has found that there are a few more kobolds, and apparently more coming. So we'll see how this ends, if they get out alive or they become new wall ornaments for the dragon's lair. This is what a running battle looks like. Well, actually, running and trying not to battle.
The whole point was to get the treasure. I'm not going to drop the treasure.
And now it's the point of incrimination on who took the treasure and who didn't take the treasure, and who pissed off the dragon and who didn't. So
we passed out the treasure between us.
No,
you could stop and do that. That's a great idea. They're going to stop and pass the treasure around and see what the kobolds are going to do. I don't know quite how many kobolds. How many kobolds are here?
Which was our point, which was not to
more than one or two. Anyway.
Which was just to...
This is the bickering phase of the game, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. The outcome of this was we ended up with 2 captured and 1 actually dead. His brother, one of our party members, actually decapitated his own brother to make sure that he didn't get captured. Unfortunately, that led to his capture. So if there is any forthcoming outcome, we'll have to find out what it is.